All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're mapping out a truly incredible and honestly kind of unexpected journey. We are going to start grounded in well-studied Western psychology and then travel all the way into the ethereal, transcendent realms of Eastern spirituality. Specifically, we'll be looking at Xu Feng's writings on the bliss state of life. It's an absolutely fascinating look at what it actually means to reach the absolute height of human feeling and how different traditions try to capture it.
So, to kick things off, I want you to think back for a second. Have you ever felt a moment of joy so intense you literally completely lost your sense of self? Maybe you were standing at the summit of a mountain, or maybe you were totally absorbed in live music, or just sharing a profound connection with someone. Hold on to that memory for a second, because understanding that massive loss of self, that split second where you completely disappear and only the pure experience is left, well, that's exactly where our journey begins today.
Section 1. Defining the peak experience. What is it?
You know, a lot of us are already familiar with the famous American psychologist Abraham Maslow, right? The hierarchy of needs guy. Well, according to the source text, Maslow pinpointed this peak experience as the absolute pinnacle of human existence. It's the idea that once all your basic needs are met, your ultimate goal is self-realization. And Maslow described the perfect symbol of reaching this highest need as a strong identity experience. Basically, it's the ultimate state of just being.
Now, what's really wild here is how heavily this focuses on absolute presence and perfect harmony. The author actually lists 18 distinct characteristics of a peak experience, but they boil down to a few core ideas. Think about these descriptions for a moment. Blending into a harmonious whole, melting into nature, flowing vigorously like a river, being totally free from suffering, as pure as a newborn baby, and completely absorbed in the present. It's a state where your inner friction just vanishes, drops to zero. You become totally unworldly, poetic, and overflowing with this mysterious, incredible ecstasy.
Section 2. The visceral sensation. What does it feel like?
So how does the human body physically register this psychological peak? The text uses some incredibly intense visceral descriptions drawn from real people who have hit this state. These accounts describe an almost unbearable ecstasy. One person shared this highly intimate thought. I have a vague sense of vertigo, that exciting warmth, fullness, wetness, and power. I feel as if I were awakening into a new life which had just begun at that moment. I mean, it's described as intoxicating, desperate, and just beautiful beyond words. And listen to the absolute sensory overload in this next quote. A sudden gush of roaring fire, strong, devouring, wonderful, an amazing feeling, my own self-existence in another dimension. Just wow, right? It's this breathless, high-altitude rush where everything else in the mundane world simply ceases to exist. The person is completely, totally conquered by the sensation.
And then we get to the crescendo of these feelings. The text reads, "My feeling reaches a steep peak of bliss, then my body convulses violently 5 or 6 times. Sharply and intensely at first, then more bluntly, slowly, and gently." Okay, if you haven't guessed it already from these incredibly vivid physiological descriptions, the text reveals that these specific accounts are actually capturing the peak experience of reaching sexual climax.
Now, this isn't just some arbitrary connection the author is making. Maslow's own investigative research, which spanned 5 continents, by the way, concluded that there are 2 primary, incredibly common methods for mankind to acquire these peak experiences. One is music, and the other, the most common one, is sex. It's through these profound physical and sensory events that the average person gets a fleeting momentary taste of transcending their daily existence.
Section 3. The quest for eternal bliss. Temporary versus eternal.
This is where the text introduces a massive plot twist regarding these physical experiences. The crucial takeaway here is that those intense physical rushes, the swelling music, the sexual climaxes, they are actually comparatively low level. Why? Because they're temporary. They are incredibly short-lived and they rely entirely on external factors. True Buddhist enlightenment, entering what is called the Elysium world, requires unlocking a permanent, internal state of bliss. It requires shifting from a temporary, fleeting peak to an eternal peak that is entirely self-contained.
Section 4. Achieving self-harmony. How do we attain it?
So how do we actually attain that eternal bliss? The answer provided in the text is self-harmony. This is defined as a state where a life possesses both yin and yang internally. You remain in perfect oneness without any need for external sexual supplements or outside triggers whatsoever.
It's kind of like the Taoist yin-yang fish symbol. Both opposing forces are perfectly balanced within a single self-contained circle. The text points out that achieving this self-harmony is an enormous, highly complex, and systematic project of self-refinement. You essentially have to build the mechanism for a permanent peak experience directly inside your own consciousness.
Let's break down this methodology. The author outlines 4 exact steps that followers, who are referred to as Lifechanyuan celestials, must follow. Step 1. De-weed your soul garden completely. Basically clear out all that psychological underbrush and negativity. Step 2. Pay back all debts from past lives, clearing out your karmic ledger, so to speak. Step 3. Accumulate merits and virtues in heaven. And finally, Step 4. Ascend your consciousness to a perfect state. Doing this entire sequence allows a person to eventually enter the celestial island continent and enjoy literally eternal bliss.
What's fascinating is that the text actually takes this from the theoretical right into the practical. The author designed a physical, intentional community called the New Oasis for Life. It's a carefully cultivated environment dedicated entirely to fulfilling those 4 specific tasks we just talked about. It's meant to be a real-world place where the builders can find continuous joy, experience those peak feelings without relying on anything external, and systematically attain true self-harmony.
Section 5. Wisdom of the Heart Sutra. Ancient Teachings.
To truly grasp the final destination of this entire journey, the text looks back at ancient Buddhist teachings. It points out that Buddha and Bodhisattva revealed this path a long, long time ago. According to the Heart Sutra, true wisdom comes from realizing that everything, all physical forms, all behaviors, and yes, even those intense, visceral sensory feelings we discussed earlier, they are completely invisible and ultimately just illusions. There's no birth or death, no defilement or purity in them. Our physical perceptions of seeing, hearing, tasting, and feeling, they actually mislead us. Recognizing that these temporary peaks are just illusions is exactly the key that frees a person from worry, fear, and suffering.
The text wraps up this concept by leaning heavily on a profound supreme mantra. It's an unequaled call to action, to leave the distorted physical world completely behind and travel to the ultimate shore of freedom. It says, go, go, go. Go to the other shore with transcending wisdom. Go to the realm of freedom. Go to attain enlightenment soon. Just go. It's a powerful driving mandate to drop the temporary and seek the eternal. As we wrap up this explainer, take a moment to really reflect on your own pursuit of joy. When you chase that next big high, whether it's through an amazing song, romance, or just watching a beautiful sunset, ask yourself what it is you are genuinely trying to reach. Are you just chasing a temporary physical illusion? Or could you use that profound sense of letting go as a stepping stone to cultivate your own internal, self-harmonious, eternal shore? It's a massive question, but honestly, it's exactly the kind of deep self-inquiry that leads to true self-realization. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive.